Hello and welcome to the Success Showcase. I'm your host, Eric Lopkin with the Modern Observer Group. And with me, as always, is Chip Janiszewski from the Happiness and Success GPS. Chip, how you doing this week?
Doing great, Eric. How about you?
I'm doing fantastic.
Looking nice and springy outside. We're in daylight savings time now, so it's light out after 7 o'clock. It's great.
Yeah, it's, sun is shining. Spring is in the air. We've only got 2 weeks left until the official start of spring.
Yeah, 10 days. Today's the 11th.
So everything's going good there. But today we're going to talk about something that touches on self-esteem. It touches on time management. It touches on focus. It's actually a really big part of your business and your life, which is knowing how and when to say no to things. There are so many of us that, we want to help people so much that, we forget that no is an option and we tend to overload ourselves. So today we're going to talk about knowing when to say no and how to make it easier for yourself to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of like a fine science and so on. But as you mentioned, one of the keys is your own time management. And, the other thing is relationships. I think one of the biggest hindrances to you saying no to somebody is, what's that person going to think about me for doing this? When the bottom line is the person that you're responsible to is in the mirror and you can't control how other people react towards you. And the other thing that you got to look at is everybody wants to solve their own problems as fast as possible. So they're always going to be asking for help for people to ease their burdens in an attempt to free up their own time. So we're all in this game together as far as asking. And so we also have to really be cooperative in looking at each other and the ability to say no.
Exactly. And, the requests are always going to come. So you need to understand your own capabilities and your own workload in order to really know, is this something I can say yes to? And in fact, most of us need to switch our focus so that yes is not always our default. Your first thought should be, well, can I do this? Not, of course I can, but is this something that fits into my core competencies? Is this something that fits into my schedule? Because you can't just keep giving of yourself. So the better you know yourself, the better you know what you're good at, the easier it becomes to say no. Because if something is not in your core competencies, one, you shouldn't be taking it on. And two, it's a very simple no to say. Because you can honestly say, you know what, I'm not really good at that. Let's find somebody else who is to help you out.
Yeah, it's really, really important to take a look at what the task is and what your own workload is. And the bottom line is, if you do say yes and you have a to-do list that's 2 miles long and you can't get anything done anyway, you're only going to damage your relationship with the other person by saying yes and not being able to come through for them. So that's one of the big things as far as taking a look at time management.
Yeah, certainly one of the reasons that most people find it hard to say no is because they want to be liked, they want to be of value to this other person. But if you say yes and you can't follow through, either because it's not something you're good at or you don't have the time to get to it, or it's something that you would have to put off for quite a while, that doesn't build the relationship better than no did. In fact, no would be to both of your advantages because one, you're not taking on more work than you can handle. And two, you're not leading them on so that they're thinking it's getting done and you're putting it off because you don't have the time.
Yeah, and getting back to being upfront, obviously, we talked a little bit about the inability to say no could stem from your fear as far as being rejected or fearing conflict with the person you're saying no to, and so on and so forth. But on the other hand, whether you say yes or no, it doesn't guarantee that you're going to make that person feel better, making them feel the way they want to feel. So yes or no is not always the right answer, and you don't really know that until you give the answer. And again, the most important thing is to respect yourself first, and people are going to respect you for saying no, especially with the proper reason, a whole lot more than they would if you say yes and you can't come through for them. And if the person does keep pushing and pushing and pushing, even though you're giving perfect reasons for doing that, that's somebody you're probably not going to care about having a great relationship with in the first place.
Right. And that's something that a lot of business owners deal with in the early days of their business, when saying yes is almost automatic because they're afraid to turn down business. But very often, if somebody comes to you and it's not really what you do, or this is somebody that you really shouldn't be doing business with because the effort is going to far outweigh what you're making from the job, you have to turn down that job. And for new businesses, that's really difficult. They don't know, where the next piece of business is going to come from. So that fear really forces them to say yes. But if you can get over that fear and say no when it's appropriate, it frees you up to get the business that you should actually be going after.
Yeah, absolutely. We talk a lot about business strategic planning, and like you're saying, most people, even businesses that have been around a long time, their philosophy is to grab every order that they can get. Whereas smart business owners are going to take a look at their client mix, how easy it is to work with people, and classify the client types that they want to go after. This is for business development purposes, operations, and that kind of thing. And you also need to identify the types of clients that you just don't want. And if you can have that down as a strategy, when somebody calls you up asking for something or whatever, and they don't fit into that, you can just say, "Hey, my niche is really here. I'm really not good at serving businesses of your type," and they're going to appreciate that, unless they're looking for a handout or something for nothing, in which case you don't want to be working with them anyway.
Exactly. And in fact, I just had a conversation with a couple of business owners where we were talking about when we don't want to take a client on, sometimes no simply isn't enough. And what we've had to do is actually jack up our prices to where we think they can't afford to hire us. And that doesn't always work. Sometimes you tell them that higher price and they go, okay, sure. But it's one way of trying to get no across.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, before you do that, check their credit rating before you quote the high prices.
Right.
So, but yeah, for businesses, I mean, obviously, and personally, on the personal side, it comes down to your time management. It comes down to what you like to do, what you don't like to do. It's really, really important to be working on that person in the mirror first, or that business in the mirror first, because that really drives everything. And, as we said, people and other businesses are going to respect you a whole lot more for being honest and upfront with them than they will if you just say yes to them and don't come through. It's worse to say yes and not perform than it is to say no in the first place. Far worse.
All right. And there's also external factors. If you say yes that you're going to help somebody and then don't do it, yes, the relationship is damaged, but you could also inadvertently be causing difficulty for that person that you may not be able to get them out of. And this is actually an extreme version, but I'm dealing with a situation right now with my mother-in-law. She needed help dealing with Social Security. and she turned to her local congressperson who she works for. And the congressperson said, yes, I'll take care of it. I'll take care of it. No problems. I'll take care of it. Well, as it turned out, the congressperson didn't do anything. So Social Security actually denied her claim, which she's completely justified in getting. But now we have to start the process again. And this person that said they were going to help did a lot of damage by saying yes and not following through. So in this particular case, it would have been much better for my mother-in-law if the person had simply said, there's nothing I can do right now. Maybe we can find somebody else to help you.
Yeah, which really it brings up an important point too. I mean, if you are the one who is asking instead of the one who's saying yes or no, it's really, really important if you're asking somebody else's help to have a timed list of checkpoints to make sure that they are taking care of what they're saying they're going to take care of, instead of just saying, oh, thank you, I'm so glad you're taking care of this problem for me, and not following up on it at all. It's really incumbent upon the person who's requesting the help to make sure that they're checking up on that, obviously in a nice way. But if you want to make sure it's getting done, it still is your responsibility to get it done.
Right. You need to balance checking up on them and making sure things are getting done with not being pushy. If someone's doing you a favor, you don't want to be constantly nagging them and pushing them. So it's a fine line to walk, but it can be done.
Yeah, and it's as simple as just saying, when you're asking them, say, hey, can I check back with you on such and such a date? So you always have a touch point planned.
That's a perfect way to do it. And what most people need to realize is there's nothing wrong with no. In fact, in a lot of situations, you want no. Not just when somebody's asking you something, but if you're a business, in your sales process, no is certainly better than we'll see or maybe. Obviously, in sales, you want to get to yes, but getting to no is just as important, because it means you don't have to waste your time on something that's not going to happen.
Yeah. As everybody out there knows, I usually download a couple of articles and take a look at different things. And there's one that just says the advantages of saying no. And first of all, saying no often means that you're putting yourself first. You become the number one priority of your own life, and you have to be there. And then it also means that you're choosing your life's balance instead of letting other people control just because they need something, and all you want to just be the nice person for everybody. And you are honoring your own personal boundaries, things that you can and you can't do, and so on and so forth. And that's the bottom line. The more you say yes, if you say yes unconditionally, you're really giving up control of your life. And it's not going to help you, and it's definitely not going to help the other people, because eventually whatever you're trying to do is just going to blow up all over the place, because you'll have too much to do and you won't be getting anything done.
Right. And it really comes down to your self-esteem. Because the main reason, according to a number of studies I've seen, that people don't say no is because they want to be liked, they want to be accepted, and they think the way to do this is doing favors for everybody and always being there for them. Well, it's great to be there for people and to help people out, but there's a limit to what you can do, both in terms of hours in the day, in terms of the energy you have, and actually physical limitations.
Yeah, a lot of it gets back to, again, your own self-esteem. That's something that you really have to work on yourself. We talk often about developing and maintaining a positive